And when he found out, my oldest, he punched things. He just bawled. He just fell out. And for a child, a son, a boy, I know men don't show emotion a lot, but all of us, my whole entire family, my friends, everyone, were devastated. I can't believe that they would put my baby in the trash.
There is a child killer on the loose, and that's why we're going to catch this person and bring him to justice. I fear for our community until we bring this person in. This is a heinous crime that's been committed, and you know, we're going to work as hard as we can to make this community safe.
There's no measure of punishment that you deserve, except the same death my daughter went through. That may sound really hard, but that's my daughter.
We are taking your calls live. We have received word that a child's body has been found in a trash dump. There with over 100 tons of trash. 55 miles to the north of her Orange Park, Florida home, Summer's body has been found and identified. First identified by a birthmark, and now through dental records. There is no doubt that this body is the body of 7-year-old little Summer. We are taking your calls to Abigail in Illinois. Hi, Abigail.
Hi, Nancy. God bless you, Nancy, for your relentless pursuit for justice for victims of horrific crimes.
I don't feel like that. When I was listening to the mother singing, not too many hours ago, I had the twins at the playground on the swing, and I was singing that very song to them, and they were laughing, and the sky was blue, and it's just very hard to believe that not that far away they were identifying this little girl's body. And I wonder how many days and nights this mom sang that same song to Summer. I'm just sick about it. What is your question, love?
Yes, thank you, Nancy. I would like to know if the police have checked out all the sex offenders in Summer City, also let alone in surrounding cities.
Let's go out to Tiffany Griffith, WOKV, with that question. And not only that question, what more, Tiffany, can you tell me about that park across from where she lives and that vacant house that they're zeroing in on? I mean, if somebody is in that vacant house, by God, certainly they left some sort of forensic trail.
Both good questions. What we do know as far as the sex offenders in this area, that with the original search in the 3-mile area, they were looking at 57. Then they expanded it to 5 miles, and they added an additional 37 sex offenders that they were looking into. We do know that they have checked with at least 90% of those sex offenders, and that there are still 5 that they are looking to question. They've told us that they've been able to clear all of those sex offenders that they have discussed, and that doesn't mean that they won't go back and still do some additional interviews, but for right now, they don't have a specific sex offender linked to this crime. And now, as far as that house on Gano Avenue, we do know that it is vacant. There was nobody living in it at the time. It was owned by a family, but they weren't living in that home. And we do know at some point it was also involved in a fire. That home, we do know that Summer was walking past it last she was seen by witnesses, not necessarily saying that she actually went inside the house. We don't know maybe if she was dragged in, but we do know that she was walking past it last she was seen. And as I said, right across the street from that house is a park, and investigators are looking into a restroom there where a bag of evidence has been taken from the restroom. We don't know what's inside of it, but we do hope to learn more.
I want to go to Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst and author of Deal Breakers. Bethany, we are getting floods of calls and emails, and an overwhelming question is why? Why? And you know what? I used to ask that in my head, since prosecutors don't have to prove motive. I would be sitting in the courtroom looking over at some defendant who had committed a crime on a child or a murder, and I would think, why? Why? But then after about 5 years of beating my head against a cement block, I figured, I don't really care why. I don't care why. All I care is that I get the right guy and that he gets justice. But why? You're the shrink. Why would somebody want to grab this little girl by the arm and she's walking home from school at 2:45 p.m. with her friends, drag her into a vacant house or stick her into a car, probably torture her, probably sexually assault this little 7-year-old girl, and then murder her? Why? What drives somebody to do that?
You just put your finger on it, Nancy. The number one reason child abduction, sexual assault. And the research is just, it's horrifying. The research shows that usually these guys use pornography in order to fuel their wish to kill. It shows that only 2/3 of the men who commit abduction, sexual assault, homicide have a prior arrest. And of that population, only half of them have an arrest for a crime against a child. So it is not enough to look at a sex offender registry to determine whether or not you're safe in your neighborhood. Of these offenders that go to jail, most of them have a history of offenses against children for 17 years. Children are not immune from sexual assault simply because they're close to home. Mark Klass was right. Half of these child abduction homicides occur within 3 blocks of the child's home. Keep your eye on your children.
You know,
do
that
not
brings
let them
up
walk to
something
school alone.
really interesting. And I want to go through this list we came up with, Norm, about who could possibly do this. And very often you will see that children are abducted by people they know. And I'm not talking about crazy Uncle Weird. The familiarity could be more attenuated, like Elizabeth Smart. The person that abducted her was someone the mom had hired to do because she felt sorry for the guy. Then there is, of course, Jessie Lunsford. She was taken by Cooey, who lived in her neighborhood. Megan Kanka, Megan's Law, was taken by a neighbor. Daniel Van Dam was taken by Westerfield. May he rot in hell, who was a neighbor. Martha Moxley was murdered by a neighbor, one of the Kennedy clan. The list goes on and on and on, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a relative or a close family friend, but someone they are in contact with, someone that knows them. We are taking your calls live. First, I want to go to Tracy Sargent in Cinco, canine handler of the Search and Rescue Recovery Specialist of Homeland Security. Tracy, cadaver dogs were used in this case. How does it work?
Yes, ma'am. Landfills really offer a unique challenge to dogs and to teams. Because of all the debris, the contamination, it really requires the dog some intensive search to pinpoint where that person might be. It's oftentimes dogs will alert in a landfill to things that we may not even be searching for, such as bloody rags, Fenneman products, other things. The dogs will pinpoint all human remains in a landfill, so it's not unusual for them to alert. Even the thing that we're looking for is not there. What we're going to demonstrate too is that here in the studio are 2 debris piles, and we're going to kind of simulate how the dogs can be effective in a landfill, even though the challenges are there. The dog's going to tell us what pile to search for further evidence. Cinco. Hunt. So what you noticed here, he went through this pile here. That tells us that there's nothing here. So he went to this trash pile and he's telling us we need to check in this area. So from there, investigators will go through the tons of debris to find out what is that dog responding to. Is it responding to the little girl or is it responding to something else? At that point in time, we will reward the dog, and then we will tell the officials, check in this area. But landfills offer, again, a very unique and very tedious, difficult challenge for dogs, but they can be effective in landfills.
With us tonight from Homeland Security, Tracy Sargent and her cadaver dog, Cinco. We are taking your calls live, but if you are just joining us, the news we are reporting tonight that the body of a small child has been found in a trash dump, and it is 7-year-old Summer.